Hi guys, this morning I'm going to do the rear brakes on this little Ford KA, and how that's done is the same for most front wheel drive cars. That's got brake drums on the back. They're different to front wheel drive cars with discs at the back, and they're also different to rear wheel drive cars with drums or discs at the back. So with these, you've got to undo the wheel bearings and all of that to get the drum off, but I'll show you that. First, got to take the wheels off, get the car in the air. So I'm going to do that quickly. So just before you take the wheels off, handbrake's got to be undone, and then you spin the wheel just to listen for wheel bearings. That's the brake drums catching, not the wheel bearings, and just feel for play on the bearings. I can feel this got a little bit, but we will adjust that up. Now you can take the wheel off. Next thing we have to do is to remove this little cap, because the nut that holds everything is behind that. So I'm just going to pry that cap off quickly. So to take the cap off, you sometimes deform it a little bit, but it's not a problem. We'll bend that back, put it back in, and I can see the grease and everything inside here is really clean. So this axle and everything is still in very good condition. I'm going to undo that nut and then pull the drum off. So these bearings are very tight on this model, so you need a power bar to undo them. Like that. That's the brake drum off. So you can see here what the problem is. There's no more pad left on the shoe itself. Now on these models, apparently they don't sell you new shoes. You've got to take these in to be relined. This side is still good. See, there's the liner on it. On the front side, there's nothing, it's gone. And also in the drum, because that's been off, you can see it scored the drum a little bit. So I'm going to take both drums in to have them cut and to put new linings on. There's the adjustment on them over there, but when we put it together, we'll get to that, because that's what adjusts these shoes out. Every time when you pull your handbrake or when you press the brakes hydraulically, that little pin there on that ratchet, that's what adjusts your shoes out. So we've got to release that to pull it back, like that. I can't do it with one hand and hold the camera. When you release that, the shoe will come back, and I'm going to take these off quickly, but we'll get to that adjustment when we put it together. So to get the actual shoes off, you just hold that with a long nose, squeeze it in. I can't do it with one hand. Squeeze it in and it'll unclip like that. And the other side. And we've got to take that spring out. And that spring out, not always the easiest thing. I've got a special tool to do that. But if you don't have a special tool, you can also use a screwdriver. Just push the screwdriver in there and unhook it. Like I say, not the easiest thing in the world. Alternatively, if you can't get it off like that, what I sometimes also do is I pull them out over here. then the spring just comes out. Now everything comes closer together and it makes it a little easier to get everything out. You then have to unhook your handbrake from there. I'll show you better. So on the handbrake, you've got to pull that spring back, and that has got to go through, that has to go through that hole. See? You've got to pull the spring back, and that has to go through that hole. I'm going to do that quickly. So just to show you how the handbrake mechanism works. That spring, there's a little ratchet on there. Sorry. There's a little ratchet on there. And every time when you press brakes, the shoes go out. There's a spring that holds this back. And then it moves, click by click. It moves out on that little ratchet there. Just like that. And that's what keeps your handbrake tight. Oops. That's what keeps your handbrake tight all the time. So you don't have to adjust it. Anyway, this is got to get to the engineering for rebonding. So I got them back from the brake and clutch people. They skimmed both drums on the inside and they've put new linings on. Don't mix these and those up, because that was skimmed and cut to size according to the size of the pads that's on there, and the same this side. Sometimes they're exactly the same, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes they have to skim one a little bit more than the other one, and if you mix them up, you're never going to get your brake set up correctly. So this is a pack, a set, and that's a set. Now the task is to put everything back. So the first thing we have to do is to hook the brake cable in, and then from there we'll proceed. Obviously this is upside down. They go that way, they go in that way, but yes, I'm just going to hook that in there, and then we'll take it from there. We now have to start assembling this, and this hooks in underneath there to get into place like that. And then I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to clip the left brake shoe in so that it stays in place. So that shoe's got to be up there, and this will hook in like that, obviously over there like that. I'm not going to clip them in at the bottom here, and I'm going to put that spring in just to hold everything in place. Like that. And like that. So that'll now keep that shoe in place. Then I can start filling with the rest of the bits. I'm going to hold the other shoe in like that, and I'm going to put that clip in as well, and I'm going to unhook both at the bottom. So let's just get that pin through like that, and put the other clip in. Like that. Now it'll keep everything in place for me, because I must still put these springs in, which is not the easiest thing in the world. So this spring hooks in over there. It must go in that side there, but I'll do that with a flat screwdriver, and then there's a smaller spring that goes in this side. So time for the springs, not the easiest thing in the world. So this spring has got a hook in over there. Apologies, that's got a hook in there. And the other side must go in over there where my finger is. So there's two ways of doing it. You can poke a flat screwdriver in between those springs and pull it and hook it. Or you can hook it through there with a screwdriver and push it over. I'm going to try and set up my camera so that you can see. And I'm going to attempt one or two or both of those attempts. Hope you guys can see. So the easiest way sometimes is to hook a small screwdriver in there and hook it into the hole where it's supposed to go, and then you simply slide it over, and sometimes it goes in and other times it doesn't. That one went in first time. The second spring is going to go in there, and hook behind here, and we're going to do the same thing. Hook it in there and pull it over. That's both springs in place. You also have to push this together so that those brake cylinders can go in. And the last thing to do is to hook the bottom spring in. Again, small skinny screwdriver, hook it through the spring, put it in a hole where it's supposed to go. Pull it over. Like I say, sometimes it goes, other times it doesn't. There we go. That's in. So now it's time to put the brake drum in. You've now got to make sure that this is the same height on both sides, because if they're not lined up, you're not going to get your drum in. So, okay, time to put the little drum over. You obviously have to grease your bearings. Make sure that everything is nice and clean. That goes in. Ooh, apologies. Your bearing goes in. The washer and the nut goes in. And you tie everything up. Right, so showing you there on the car how to hook these springs in didn't really help much because you couldn't really see. But the easiest way is to get the spring to hook it in that side, because that's the awkward side of it. Apologies, this must go in this side. It's to hook the awkward side in, must go that way. And then what I do is I take my small flat screwdriver and I put it in there and where it's supposed to be, and then I simply force it over like that, and then just push it down, and then now my hands are in the way again. I'm going to do it from the other side. So you hook your screwdriver behind it and you put that where it's supposed to go in the hole, and you simply push it down and you just push it in where it is supposed to go, like that. And that spring is in place. And then the smaller spring is supposed to hook with that skew a little bit, hook behind there and in there. So again, we put the awkward side in first, and on this side, same story, hook it with your screwdriver and just slide it over like that. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but that's how it's done. I hope that explains it a little better. It's better to show you here than on the car. Obviously, the brake cylinders are between there. And you've got to push the brake cylinders in before you all do all of this, otherwise your brake drums won't fit. On some cars, you're quite lucky. You can put it together like this outside, and then when you push the brake cylinders in, it will actually fit. On this model that I'm working, that's possible. So you can put it together like this and then just slide it into place and then put your two clips in. So remember, once you've got everything back on, that's got to be free. And now you've got to adjust the handbrake. On these models, it's really easy. You just pull the handbrake a million times until you can feel it starts gripping, because there's no other way to do it. And then we still have to fix that and put that back on. So these cups are really soft. You just simply bend them straight with your long nose pliers until they're round again, more or less like that. And then you take a nice big socket and tap it back on. Simple as that. There we go, that'll work. So that's that done. To adjust the brakes, it's very easy. Once the wheels are back and everything's on, you simply get into the car and you press your brake pedal, not the handbrake, the brake pedal. When you press the brake pedal, you hear this krrk at the back. That's that little ratchet moving. Then you press that a few times and press your brakes hard, and then pull the handbrake a few times, and then just drive forward, press your brakes, drive backwards, just so that all the brake shoes and everything can find its place. And that's it. You'll see that the handbrake is adjusted nicely. Because of that little ratchet system that's automatic. Whenever you press the brakes, the calipers open, and then the ratchet will move along. That's what that little spring is there for, and then it locks in place, and that is it. I think most important for a job like this is Once you've got your brake drum off, take a couple of pictures, take decent pictures, just to make sure where all the springs go and everything, because you can forget where they are. And with everything that I do, have a bucket or a bowl or a bin or something. Everything that you take out, put it in that bucket or that bowl or that bin. So once you've put everything together, that must be empty, so you know everything has gone back. Anyway, I hope this helps someone. Be safe.